Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, the boxwood is going to go into a new, deeper pot because we're going to put it over a rock. While on the road trip this past week to see my brother, our final stop in upstate New York, I found a whole bunch of rocks that we can use on future plantings, including this rock right here. But I have a lot of slabs for future plantings as well. Before we dig into this, why don't we go take a look at some of the slabs I found? So I'm in the back property of my brother's place, and just past the chairs up there is a little bit of an awning made of some branches, hard to see, but right up this trail here, there's the fence. We're in upstate New York, and all the natural fences made of all the rocks from this area form these fence lines. And if you can just look past this first line of trees, the fence line comes down around here. There's a pile of rocks right there. Today I'll be looking for some slabs to put some force on. So we're getting a little collection here, finding some rocks with a little bit different texture. They're all relatively flat, of course. Toby found this guy with a nice mound right here. So we'll lay some soil right in here. We can get 3 to 5 large tree on here. If I need to, I can drill some holes through this thick of a stone, but the water will just trail right off, just naturally. So yeah, let's see what we can do with them. Now to unpack, just to pack. I have the collection of rocks in front of me. Again, these are slate rocks from upstate New York. That part of New York State, there's all kinds of property where all these stones are stacked on top of each other and made into fence lines, which perhaps kept cattle in at one point if they were high enough, or just decorative fences. I guess I don't know the full history on that. But I'm always looking for rocks that I can plant more slab plantings on, because I'm really loving the forest concepts. I want to make more of them. 3 and 5 and 9 and 11 and more trees. So I got some medium-sized slabs from upstate New York, and so I thought I'd show them to you. Now, this was just a rock that I had seen on my brother's property, and it's nothing terribly fancy, but on one of our tours, one of our hikes I should say, Toby and I, we saw a lot of rocks on a hike we took at Hope Bay up in Canada, where there were a lot of cedars growing on rocks with mold everywhere, and I just envisioned putting a big old tree right here, having the roots just cascade down over this rock and mold forming over there, and it could be fun. And it's super flat on the bottom, so it could sit in a pot really, really well. So, somewhere between 5 and 10 pounds. We have this kind of jagged edge on the back side. We have a curved edge here. Could we place it this way? Could we place it this way? There's just a little bit of a decline here where we could set our tree. Now here and here I have a couple of smaller ones. Super thin on this one. And with these littler ones, I might not do a forest of 3. I might just do one bigger tree to just have a tree, or maybe a twin trunk or something on a slab. So this one has some fun curves in the back here, all the way around. And you can see all those different layers. There's a split here, split here, split here. So there's some multi-layers going on. I really like this one because it had a flat top, some curves here, and then this outcrop of a rock here. So if we nestle a tree in here, it'll have this natural line down here. It goes in the back too. It could be this way for a long depth one. It could be this with this in the back, or we could use this in the front. Now this one, it's a thick, chunky one. That could be the top. But the reason why I like this rock, when we were on a hike, Toby and I, we saw this hanging over another, like there's kind of a cave or a hollow part here, and this part stuck over just like this, and there was a trunk right here, growing right here up, and it was growing in a slab just like this. So that would be a tough place for me to plant something, but I'd sure like to give it a try. And if that doesn't work, there's even a couple of indents here where a tree could be right on the edge. One of my favorite ones of the bunch is this guy. Again, because of these bumps in the rock and this little cradle here. So I can put the trees right in here, get maybe a 5-tree forest here, and with all the rocks and everything, it'll sit right up here and just curve up a little bit here. And it's just craved a little cradle for me, almost like a homemade pot. I'll drill a couple holes in this one so water doesn't sit in here. This probably wouldn't be as nice, but it's not even a bad side either. But I really like this. With all of this edging here and this tall part, and there's a swoop here where we can put the trees. This one just had great texture again, and look at the thick part right here. So this is flat right here. This will sit like this, and it has some great texture. It's not just a flat slab. It's got some nice movement. We can put some trees in there, make a really nice forest out of that one. And this one just had a really unique kind of purpley color, kind of a red purpley color. And we might be able to get a couple trees on that too and just have a nice slab. One of my most ambitious goals is to maybe have a rock platform. One of these rock platforms. And then the other rock just sits on the rock. So say we have a stack of rocks like this. I have some great pictures of the hike Toby and I took, and there was a couple of sections where there was a section of rock that just was kind of leaning up, kind of like this on more rock. And there was 3 or 4, 5 or 6 trees on here. And you could see underneath this rock. And so the trees are on this rock and the roots going down over here. And again, if I just stack some of these rocks, and then we're somehow able to make this stick up like this, so there's a gap down here, I could have trees growing on here and maybe a root coming down underneath here, or root, all kinds of possibilities. So very excited with the rocks that I got from my brother's place in upstate New York. So these will sit here in the corner. until we're ready to plant. So I went ahead and put this slab right here in this pot. Got some thick bonsai soil, the bigger, coarser soil in the bottom. And I've got my flat boxwood here that I know has a lot of roots in it from the last time I repotted it. And though this is the summertime, I've been told by a good friend of mine from the Minnesota Bonsai Society that you can repot boxwoods multiple times a year and kind of get away with it. So it has put out its first push of growth, and then it kind of stalled for a little bit, and now it's starting to shoot out more growth, like almost like its second spring, right? And so I know the energy is positive. I'm going to go ahead and give this a try, and we're going to get this thing into this pot. Hopefully the roots over this. Now, if this is too high in this pot right here, we're going to put it in this box, which is deeper. The rock will fit in there deeper, and the tree won't sit so high. And then in a couple of years when we repot, we'll lift it up into more of a pot like this so you can start to see the rock and the roots. So let me get some tools and we'll get started. Got a bin to catch the soil. The pots are in the back. New soil to my left. We're going to go ahead and take this out of this pot. So we'll shimmy it right out of here. And we'll start to comb away some of the soil here. And I'm glad I'm seeing some long roots, because we need some long roots to go over the rocks. Now, being that it's the not great time of year to repot trees, I also am going to not cut the roots off of this tree if I can avoid it at all. We'll have the long roots dangling down the rock for future exposed roots. The little fine roots will cover up with soil at the top, and then we'll see what we have. Okay, there was one tie down. And here was another tie down. So I put this in an oval pot, and as you can see, more of the roots grew on the sides that were longer than the short ones up front. The roots on a boxwood grow ferociously, typically in my experience, much faster than the top of the tree. But this year, my boxwood really did really well, and I got a lot of growth at the top of the tree. I've not pruned it back at all, so this is all, you can see the light green tips here, that's all fresh growth. And the other growth that's on here is already hardened off and has the darker green color. So this has been in a really flat pot, so we have already trimmed a lot of the roots in here to be nice and flat and to go outwards instead of down. So this should really sit over this rock quite well. And that's most of the tree right there. So again, we're not going to take away a lot of roots. We're just going to wrap this thing around and let it continue to grow. So my inspiration for this tree has been a lot of the hikes I've taken with my son Toby over the years, and seeing rocks where have these trees growing right over the rock. And we saw a couple of trees on this most recent road trip. So let's go take a flashback to about a week or so ago when Toby and I were walking near Hope Bay, Ontario. So we were up at the peninsula, and we were doing some hiking and on the Bruce Trail. So the Bruce Trail, super long trail that cuts through Canada. And this part of the trail, we were by Hope Bay, Ontario, went for a hike and saw some trees. Let's take a peek at that, and I'm going to see if this is going to fit on this rock. So we're back with the tree in the pot. We've got a couple of sections of real nice long roots, some short sections out front here. But we can take these sections and we can actually put them down the rock face, and then when the soil hugs in there, these roots will get wider and thicker right on the rock and hopefully find their place around this rock, and they get bigger. Now every time we take a tree out of a pot, it's a really good opportunity to sort out roots. So if we want a 360-degree radial root pattern, we can go ahead and take our root rake or our chopstick, and we can pick around at these roots, and we can kind of spread them around. And there's some people that will put their trees on a flat surface, and they can even tie the Tom Finser top-down method that we talked about in a recent episode. He'll take some of the roots and he'll separate them with twine and tie a couple bigger roots together. Now these are small roots, so I can't tie any of these together to separate them, but I can just separate them with my chopstick here and then lay them down on the rock. So I have a pretty good 360-degree radial pattern with the weakest link right here, and what I typically have is the front of this tree. Now that's okay, these will grow further, but this is a little too high in the pot. So I think we have to bring that to the other box. Let me bring it out back here and take a peek. So as fun as that looks and the ability to see the rock, this is going to be exposed in the air unless I mound it. Now I could mound it this high in this pot and it would probably be okay. But let us do what I said we would try if it didn't work. And let's see how it'll look in this box. So there's the rock in the box, completely buried. And we put this in here. Now it's harder for me to find spots to wrap these roots around, but I think we'll be fine. And now the tree is totally in the box. For the next couple of years, no one will know this is a root over rock until we take it out and see how the roots are doing. And then when we take it out in a couple of years, we can spread some more roots out, and then we can start cutting some roots and selecting the ones that are going to grow strong and thick that will be exposed. So again, I can kind of separate them now, and then hopefully some will thicken up, and we'll pick and choose some at that later date. I might be able to cut a few now just to get some of that started. I think I just have this one root growing up right here in a crossover way. I just want to get rid of that one. This one was crossing over some other roots. Now that's a long one, so that might be a tough loss, but it was growing over this root. It didn't look so good. So that's that one. We got a couple more here that are sticking up. So this is a great time to do this kind of root work, right? You got it out of the pot. This one's a little bit high. And I think all we can do this year is to put this over the rock, and in a couple of years, probably 2 years, we'll look at this and see if we can sort out some more roots. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the tree on and put the soil one tiny, tiny little layer. And then I want the roots to go down, and then the medium soil will go in there and hug these roots right to the rock. Now I could tie the roots to the rock with some bamboo, or some, I should say, twine, or maybe even some, what else could I put around there? I think all I have is twine. But if I can put the soil in and hold the roots down to that rock, we'll just let them grow as naturally as they can to this rock to make the future design. Now it's on the flattest part of the top of the rock. It's sitting on here nice. So now we're going to go ahead and put some of our mixed soil right there, our medium-sized soil. So let's do that. So again, I did not peel away any roots, or I didn't cut away any roots, no pruning. So I have the medium soil now with about an inch to go to the top, and I have a lot of exposed roots. But I want the larger size to be on top, so it makes more ability for the roots, the bigger root structure. So we're going to have the bigger size on top. And the bigger size roots will have more bigger roots developing in there. It allows for more pockets between the roots that are bigger. And so as we reveal the root over rock, we'll be able to maybe have some bigger rots that have formed. Now it's also going to air out a little bit more here because we have the bigger rocks. So it's going to drain to the next level of soil. But there we have our tree. Now, it's not positioned the best in this pot right now, but again, it's on the rock. It's more about the rock, not the pot. So I'm going to also put a rock up on top here to kind of rest on here to hold the tree. As you see me push the tree here, I just want to make sure that this is nice and solid. So we'll find a couple rocks to place in there. We did not trim any of the roots. The goal was to not get any roots gone, so it would be more of a slip pot than damaging the roots and creating a much longer recovery. We're at the end of July. I'll keep this in the shade with just a little bit of sun in a couple of weeks, and we've got 2 full months of growth to get the roots established, and we should be just fine. Yeah. Okay, I moved a little deeper because the sun was just getting over the garage and making it hard to see. So this is coming in our way a little bit here, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this back, and cut this back, and cut this back. This is kind of pointing out at us, right? And we want things to continue to grow more that way, perhaps. This is a twin trunk right here, coming from a little bit of a weird trunk right here. So this comes down and swoops this way. So I always thought this would be good as a root over rock because the whole tree has a little bend here. And so we'll see how this one takes and if it works in the next couple of years. So we're going to cut this one a little bit shorter as well. Let's go back a little bit more. And this part is a little bit shorter. This one's super long. We're just going to cut it off. Great growth this spring. This is coming from the back, way back in here. It's coming from way back in here and coming to the front. We're going to cut that one off to give it some more air in here. And you can see this trunk now a little bit better. This one's coming in. We're going to get that one away as well so you can expose that trunk just a little bit better. This is all shooting in from the back. We're just going to give it a chance to go more up right now. And cut that one shorter. We'll cut that one there and that one there, and this one divides right there. Now back here, this branch, there's one out in the front, one in the medium, and one in the back, and they're all kind of on the same growing plane right now. You see this one, I bend it down, and there's this one. This one has a really nice branch kind of growing at us. It's a much more developed branch. It splits nicely here. If we get rid of this one there, trim that there, and trim that there for shorter. I'm not sure which ones of these I want to catch. So it's kind of a thin plane right now. And we want to be able to see some of those branches down the road. And so I might have to get rid of one of the branches here, and I'm not sure which one I'm going to do quite yet. Now the thing about boxwoods, the thicker you cut, the thicker the branch, the more mature the branch is, the bigger the scar is going to be, and it's going to take a long time to heal. So some people recommend the bigger branches, you break off, so you have like a naturalistic looking break point. This one isn't big enough for me to worry about that quite yet, and it's going to need a long time to grow. So I'm not sure. I'm going to leave that for now until we get back to it. This one right here is kind of growing at us. So are these up here from an inside section. Let's do this one first. Let's get this one shorter. This one splits nicely up here, but it's too tall, so we'll bring that down to here. Bring this down to here. This one splits up here too, but too tall. These are all 3 down to 2. So everywhere I'm cutting here, it goes from 3 down to 2. I'll do one in the back over here. And it just kind of makes it more compact back there. So this is a nice example. If you got a lot to choose from, look at this. We got boom, boom, boom. So we're going to cut it right above there. Leave maybe 2 leaves. Boom, boom, boom. And that's a new leader to that branch right there. This one right here is going inside. So let's cut this one off. And we got these 2 left on here. This one and this one. I can trim that one a little bit shorter. And there's actually one growing over this way too, but it's a really weird angle. So we'll cut that one off. And that makes this one stick out too much. So I think I'm just going to cut that one off. I like how this one splits off to the right, so we'll get the one going off to the center off. And we got some messy ones in here. This one here is growing back into the tree. We'll cut that one off. There's one in here by my finger. That was growing in towards the center of the tree. And so is this one right now, but we're going to hold off and just leave it for the moment. Turn it around. I gotta be careful because I don't want to jostle it around too much. So here's the back of the tree. And it's looking really good. This one's growing from way inside here. It provides great texture, but way inside here, it just clogs it up in there. Now we can have these 2 take off a little bit more strongly. This one too is growing really from far in there. We'll take that one out, and now we have this. These can grow up right there. Really thick down here at the bottom of the tree. I think we can take this bottom section off so we can see more through the bottom of this tree. We'll even cut this one. There we go. And this one's facing down. Now we cleaned up the bottom of this tree more, so from the front we should be able to see more of the bottom of the tree. We got some more branches trying to grow up here. So we've got plenty of future movement. Now there's a couple branches here sticking up. We'll get this one in here, cut away. This one wants to grow down right now, so we're going to take this whole big one off for these branches right in here. This one's in there a little bit too thick. We have another one growing from way back here, way in the front actually. It's crisscrossing this branch. It's in the back, but we want it out of the way. This one splits right there. Let's keep that. Take that one out. And it's a little thick in here. Let's go in here and take this inside branch out right there. That thins out that top a little bit more. That takes out that top section there. And we're cutting these from 3s down to 2s. And we can bring it back around. Got an inside branch in here. Let's get rid of that one. And the rest I'll leave at the moment. This one's conflicting with this other branch right here. There we go. Now we can see these two compete right here, right? They touch each other. So we're going to cut this whole branch back here off. And we'll do that. Bring this one down even more in the front for future growth. We'll see what we cut off. So now we have this tree. We've got a little bit bare out here. We'll see what kind of backbutting. The sun will get in there and backbutt all right in here in the front. I think that one's too long out there in the back. Again, going from 3s to 2 back here. There we go. You can see more of the design of the tree. And we'll get more back butting with all the light that'll be in here. All right, let's stop, take a peek at this now. Yeah. So we cut about half of the foliage off. We're going to leave the rest on and just see what happens with some of the growth here. See, this is crossing, so let's get rid of this one. There we go. Let's just leave it there, and we'll see what happens with the new growth. Oh, here's another 3. Let's go down to 2. Matter of fact, let's go down to that back one so there's more air in there. All right. So we'll leave this one here, and we'll hope that the roots in the next 2 years really take off over these rocks. Give it a nice watering. We put the boxwood in the deeper pot with the rock that comes up to about here. We got just a thin layer of coarse soil down there for good drainage. We've got medium, which fills about half of the pot. And then the top layer is some more coarse because I want the roots to be a little thicker on top. That'll give it space to get those roots maybe growing a little bit thicker and not so fine like in the smaller soil. So we did a little bit of trimming on top, but none of the roots. So the roots should have plenty to support the leaves, and we have enough photosynthesis going on here, I believe, to support the roots. The roots hugged the rock all the way down to the bottom, and so for the rock I just had the roots on the rock, and then the soil went in and we just pushed it down, and so all those roots on the sides, right and left for sure, are just placed right on the rock, and hopefully in time those will get thicker. And then in about 2 years we'll take this out of the pot, and then we'll separate some of those roots. We're going to actually cut some avenues, so we have a root coming over here and a root coming over there for more bigger roots, and then we can have the finer roots down lower in the pot and slowly raise that rock up so you can see it is a tree on a rock. Now this tree, in one of the pictures we saw at our hike, this was covered also completely in moss right up the trunk of the tree. So this was a tree right on a rock completely, probably grew on the moss or seeded on the moss, who knows, and then it just continued to grow, and that moss protected the roots, and then eventually the tree got bigger. And it's amazing to me how some of these trees grow on these hikes that Toby and I go on. So let's put this back over where it was, kind of in that cabin area where there's mostly shade to protect this thing, and this will be a fun project. I can't wait to keep updating y'all on the boxwood over the rock in the box. Boxwood in a box. So over here at the upper fish pond, where I have all the tiger bark ficuses, which could probably do more sun, but they're growing really well here until the workshop. Here is where the boxwood was sitting. Before, it was over here on the left side, behind my back here, where it was getting a little bit more sun in the day. But here, it'll get just a little bit of morning sun between the trees, maybe an hour, and then it's going to be shade like this and protected for the rest of the day. So an hour or two tops, and I can move it around as I see the sun and how it's adjusting now with our almost August sunshine. But there's the boxwood in a box. The rocks will hold it sturdy. The soil is holding the roots to that big jumbo rock in there, and we'll hope to lift it up over the course of time. And that's going to do it for another one. Hey, thanks for watching. Remember to take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and we're going to catch you all real soon on the next one.